The one that I choose to talk about is an event that occurred January 3rd, 1991, while I was living in Amsterdam. And that I was a student at the Film Academy and the University of Amsterdam. And it was time. I went in the middle of the night to see my teacher about my film that I was about to shoot and create. And I was in a phone booth calling my partner at the time when three men came up behind me and dragged me out of the phone booth and started to brutally beat me. And one watched while two were actively being violent. And they kicked my right hip through my rib cage, and the other one knocked me to the ground and jumped on my chest and was beating my head into the ground. And I literally sat up and left my body and went up and out. And in that experience, it was like as I rose or expanded out of my flesh, this dense, thick, sticky, gooey kind of textured experience I was having. Now, mind you, I didn't have a body. It was just what I understand to be my soul and my essence, or whatever you want to call it. And as I rose and expanded, I was met with the most incredible loving energy, the most delicious, non-human experience. And it was just all like, wow. And all of a sudden this voice approaches me and says, go back in your body. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go back in there. They're beating the stuff out of me down there. And the response wasn't like a conversation like you and I or anyone that has happening. The answer was complete silence. There was no response. It was a deafening silence. It was so loud, it made me go, uh-oh, I made the wrong decision. I said the wrong thing in this moment. And time passed, and I don't know, how much time passed, because there is no time dimension out of flesh. It ceases to exist. And so then again, I was approached again with go back in your body. And at this point, I had surrendered. And what surrendered was my personality. I still had my personality. So once I aligned with yes, I got sucked back like the fastest elevator you ever have been on into my body. My body bounced off the ground, I guess, because the three fellas jumped back. And they took my attaché case, which had all my documentary. So they jumped back and then they stole my attaché case and ran. And everything from all the research I had done for 4.5 years that I was making this film, and they took it, and I freaked. And there I was laying on the ground in Amsterdam, and I was so mad. I was so crazed. I didn't even know what was happening yet. When I woke up, I'll start there, yes?
Yeah.
So I came back, they ran, they grabbed my attaché case. I got myself up, and I couldn't really use my right leg because it was all messed up. And so I was walking. I went back to my professor's house, my teacher's house, and I was walking like Quasimodo, dragging my leg with me. And I get to his house, and he said, "What happened?" I said, "My film, everything, the attaché case." I just was nuts. And so he said, "Come, we'll get you to the hospital, to the police in the hospital." And I was like, first I want to look for these guys. And I walked down this very long street, and I saw one of the guys coming out of a flat, and he was jumping on his bicycle. And I went up to him, and I told him, I said, I No, you're one of the three. I want my attaché case back. I want everything that's in it intact. I know where you live. I will come back. I said it in English, I said it in Dutch, and I told him I was going to kill him and find the other two and kill them too. I was not kidding. You don't, and he freaked, and I said, you better return that attaché case right away. And I said it, so he got it. And then after that experience, I kind of collapsed. And so my Franz and his wife got me first to the police station to report it. And my lover at the time showed up at the police station. But what happened was that the entire attack was recorded on the phone answering machine, because I had been calling to say I was going to be late. And so she came running in, and then she took me to the hospital. And I didn't want to stay in the hospital, but they needed to observe me because my head was beaten into the ground so many times. So the reality is I would not remember this experience. I would have to heal from this experience, but I wouldn't remember what happened outside of my body for a couple of years. That was 91, January 3rd, 91. And I came back to America, the United States, to Los Angeles in 93. And it was when I came back here, I was watching the Oprah Winfrey Show, which she didn't even exist in my consciousness at all while I was abroad. I never heard of Oprah, And James Van Praten was on, and he was talking about these experiences. He didn't name it near death. He didn't, and all of a sudden, as he was talking, all the memories started floating back through my mind. And I started sweating and remembering and having sensations and able to touch it again and access it and all this stuff. And I was like, what is happening to me? What is going on, So it was something that happened, but I didn't get to go on that full journey yet at that point. Since then, years later, I have gone on that journey, and I live in that space today. But it's kind of like when people call it a near-death experience, and that's a scientific interaction. That's not about the physicality of what actually happens. I was beaten to death. They beat me right out of my body. And then the powers that be in the universe, call it what you want, said it's not your time yet. Go back in there without saying all those words. And, so I learned one, which I already knew, but it was confirmed for me that God is not human. We are not physically made in the form of a God, that we're human. And when they say that, it's not about being male or female, because God is all of it, right? God is this love, this juicy, sticky experience I had. That's what God is. And God isn't just in one place. It's not like there's a heaven above and a hell below. That's all hogwash. The heaven above is the higher self. The hell below is the lower self. That's what heaven and hell is. It has nothing to do with a location other than earth. And the reality of these truths is that when I learned that God, I started calling God the motherly father at that point, because there was no gender. And people would talk this about religion. I'm like, but where's the love of God in your religion? Where is the love? Where's the ooey gooey, sticky, unconditional love? Where is that in your religion? And I wasn't finding it there, because it wasn't created by the Almighty, the divine love of the universe. It was created by humans to interpret or control or do whatever. And they did the best they could. Don't get me wrong. But they weren't allowed the space to grow, because they lived in a construct that was not based in divine love. And that is the biggest problem humans have, is not being based in divine love. And that is why I got sent back here. And what my purpose is to help people with to understand what being a human is, but to be a human living in a soul dimension and be able to grow and heal and do all these things. Did I get gifts from the near-death experience, loose quotes? I'm sure I did, because the biggest gift is awareness. And the second biggest gift, or the first biggest gift, they're all ones. There's no 2, 3, and 4, is that I have a direct connect. It's not, I don't need to go through anyone to have the experience of divine love. We all have that. It's our birthright. And, there are all different philosophies of this and that, and let me show you the way to enlightenment. Everybody is born enlightened. We're all enlightened. And then we have life. And we get either traumatized, or there's drama, or we don't get guided properly. And all this stuff piles on top. And what happens is we get further and further and further away. And what this experience taught me is none of this stuff, this Maya, as they say in Hinduism, the illusion, none of this stuff is truth. Because none of it is based in divine love, because it's all about control. So, was I out of control when 3 men came and brutally beat me? Yeah, I was out of control. Did I have an ego sense of self-containment before that time? Yes, I did. I thought I was invincible. When I came out of that experience, as a human, which I am, I was scared in a way I never experienced fear before, physically speaking. I feel like I used to have an S on my chest, like for Superwoman, and the S was ripped off my chest through this experience. I remember I had to wear a body brace and go to have my bones put back in place. And in the Netherlands, at least the doctor I saw, the chiropractor, she literally hammered with a wedge, a rubber wedge and a rubber mallet, my bones back into place. That was painful. The thing I want to also say is right before, as it was all moving, there was movement happening, not just the movement of him beating my head in or kicking my ribs. The movement was that I was raising above my physical form I did not feel pain. The beating, I didn't physically experience in a consciousness the pain of being beaten like that. And that was also part of the divine love. And also what I got to learn about the separation of the physical form and what we have to do to maintain this form so our souls can stay on the earth. That I learned that lesson through this experience too. And this has been an awakening, an opening, an allowance. It was in this lifetime. I had another near-death experience when I was like 17 years old. That wasn't I was on drugs at the time. I'm clean a long time now. I'm clean and sober. Next month it'll be 41 years.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. So and this happened while I was clean. I wasn't on drugs when any of this happened. So but before that, I had this thing that I was engaged to be married and I was gay and I didn't know how to balance out who and what I was. I didn't know how to understand it, much less be it. And I fell in love with this camp friend of mine, but I never did anything because I was too scared. It was so traumatic to all of a sudden go against the entire society and say, no, I don't want to get married. I want to be with a woman. And that was really painful, that whole thing. And I didn't know how to tell her that how I felt. I didn't know how to be how I was. And so my answer was to take, like, in the old days we used to get vats of pills, like they were like really big vats of pills. And I took like a whole container of like 750 barbiturates with a half a bottle of gin, like almost the whole thing. And I drove, and I don't know if anybody knows the map of New York, which is where I'm from Far Rockaway, Queens, all the way up to Westchester County, where I passed out and went into a coma and was pronounced dead. They couldn't get any vital signs. And what happened there was I woke up under a sheet on a slab in the morgue. And I opened my eyes, and I didn't know I was in the morgue or what had happened. I didn't know anything. And I saw this light. And I always knew, and I thought I was dead, if you're dead, you move to the brightest light. So I sat up to move to the brightest light. And there was a guy in the morgue working there, right? And I started grunting because I heard, oh shit, this ain't rigor mortis, or whatever. And I started grunting and rocking back and forth, and I rocked myself right off the slab onto the floor. And that experience was very different because I was really out of it from all the chemicals in my body. So I had no euphoric experience, if you will. The only thing I had out of that was that I woke up before I closed the refrigerator door, the shelf, and that's that. So I didn't get the lesson of the time, except that I stopped doing like certain kind of drugs, chemical drugs. I only did natural drugs from that point on. As long as they grow in the ground, I rationalized I could do them. And I continued doing drugs for 10 more years, but then I stopped. And then it's like there were a series of events. Like I've always had these, ever since I was a little kid, burning bush experiences where I'm being guided and told, and I've always had the ability to I have telepathy. I could see things. I smell people. I see things, and I can communicate not verbally out, but I hear the voices and they tell me very specific things. And I've had that since I was a wee little kid, and my family denied it, and they just, made fun of it. So I didn't really talk about it because who likes to get made fun of? So it was kind of like my little secret. And I think my grandmother knew. And so that was always present. So there were things that were always present. But then it's like when I do work with people, when I speak in groups or do something like that, if I want to, it comes through my heart. All of it comes through all of our hearts. It's not just Lee. Everybody has this ability. Okay. I don't think I'm unique in that way. I think I want it and I'm aware of it. Therefore, I gravitate to it and I say yes to it where many people say no to. And that's one of the big differences. A lot of times people hear my experience and they'll say to me, well, can you could talk to dead people? I said, nobody's dead. They're just not have a body right now or whatever, or they're never had a body. Some beings don't have bodies. I said, but yes, I can communicate with them. Well, will you find out? I said, no, that's your work. I'm not here to do your work. My work's hard enough. I don't want to do your work. And people don't understand that it is work. It's work to unwind this ball of yarn. Like, was I chosen to die in that moment to have this, not a rebirth, because I don't think I was reborn, but I became open. And so for me, my beginnings on the planet were very rough. I chose parents who really didn't know how to be parents. and it wasn't a harmonious environment. It had some extremes, and violence, physically and emotionally, were very present in my early years. And I've spent this lifetime unwinding that and healing that. And now taking the grace of, like, the thing about healing, and this got verified when I had the near-death experience, is that we clutter up, like that when I was saying things pile up, and it stands between us connecting with ourselves and therefore us connecting with divine, right? So part of this work that I've chosen to allow to do and been gifted to do is to unwind that and to remove all those things, whatever they are for each person, that stand in the way of feeling connected. And that's really important. That's what this time in history is all about. Get rid of it. And once you get rid of the layers, and then you have that connection again, you have access to everything that because a human does not want for something that doesn't already exist. If you want an ability, if you want an understanding, it already exists within you, because you wouldn't be attracted to it if it wasn't there. And so we have to really take responsibility for ourselves as individuals. And then we come together and we have a force that we share, because someone's doing their work, you're doing your work, you feel that energy freedom. It's like it's very electric, it's electromagnetic, and that force grows. And then we create these vortexes of healing with one another, because we allow the truth to rise, because the truth is the only way through for divine love. So I don't know if that's all, that's the kind of stuff you wanted to hear, or if you have any questions.
It's very interesting, yeah. I believe also that the love definitely is absolutely different. I mean, here on Earth, we have a very different love, We get mistreated, we get lied to. People say, I love you, but they don't mean it. I have actually myself been to heaven a few times without dying, because my grandmother, before she died, we made a promise. She said, I told her, you better take me to heaven and show me how it is. Mm-hmm. And so she kept her promise. And I mean, I had a few experience, and I also, before that, I got hypnotized about a past life regression. And I personally never believed in how can that be? We had many lives before, and is this true? And I awoken myself. So I've been, so when they hypnotized me, that woman, that was a long time ago, before I had kids and I was young, and I came out crying, and I wanted to be back where I used to be, in India. And I cried because my sister got sold, and she was a brother back then, for hard labor and all kinds. And I know it was so hard. I couldn't speak about it for many years. But then I had to get healing, because my face broke out in big pimples. So I started to research, because doctors couldn't help me either. They said it's something traumatic that happened, so you gotta heal within, inside of you. And I didn't know what to do. So I took the time, researched, and then I found shamanic healing. And the shamanic healing was the one I thought beyond this world. And I recommend, if you ever be in Germany, go to Stuttgart. And that woman is amazing. So I laid down, and she did her magic, and I saw my life flashing before me, like everything. And then all of a sudden, when I came out, I felt like it felt amazing. I couldn't explain it. And I stopped crying. I stopped being sad. My face returned to normal within 3 days. And my third eye started to open. And I saw, before my grandmother died, I saw the heaven gate opened while daylight. We were walking in daylight. on the streets. And I saw heaven in front of me. It's opened. My grandmother went in, the angels in little bubbles, and all her relatives waited. And I couldn't believe it. It was like I see you. It was very clear. And so a week later, she did die. And I told people I had a dream because I couldn't tell them I saw it in front of me. Nobody would believe that. But it was amazing. And my uncle said, how can you say that? She's still alive. But she did pass kind of unexpected. She had a fall, went to the hospital, and they found out she also had liver cirrhosis then. So somehow, I don't know how this works, but she was feeling sick before, but didn't never go to the doctor. And then when she fell, she had to, and it didn't took long. And so I told her, you better take me with you and show me how heaven is. So it was very amazing. And I saw one of my kids before they got born. 6 years before my middle child got born, I saw her in heaven waiting on me in a playroom. I'm also very spiritual. That's why I know what you are talking about, and it's amazing. And I have the ability to connect and see and hear. I did for free. I did like readings with people that passed over. And I never force it. But one time my mother came years back then. And in this moment, I don't know why. It's not that I asked for anything, but she went out to our like outside area. And in this moment, I felt and saw how she dies. I don't know what happened, but I felt the overcoming love. I almost fell down to my knees and I did cry. I felt this love. It's like a hot fire of love that covers you with a blanket. And I cried. I said, in this moment, I experienced her moment of dying, of transitioning into heaven. And I told her, I'm like, sorry, you're not dying soon, but I feel it and I know it. I said, oh my God, it is amazing. I saw your mother's, my grandmother, which would be her mother, I saw her going to heaven, but with my mother, I felt the love, like this love. I felt it, and then it was gone. And then I cried and I told her, yeah. And that's why we can all be beings that connect and be spiritual, but we have to be open for that,
Exactly. It's kind of, can I share with you a story that happened? Okay.
Yeah.
So, my mom and I have had a very tumultuous relationship. It's not been even at all. She had issues that she couldn't work through in this lifetime, and that's her stuff. That was her journey. So she, I was her medical power of attorney, and she kept putting it off and putting it off. And then she really deteriorated. She had dementia, and she was hard in life. She was even harder in dementia. And so it was the end of her life. And she died on January 6, 2025. And I was with her. And my brother happened to be there, and he can't deal with any of this stuff. And his kids were there, and they can't deal with this stuff. My wife and I were there, and Joni was behind me, and my niece went, like we were there, and I had finally got her to agree to let me be the power of attorney and help her. And I said, okay. And I said to the nurse, you heard her. She was on hospice. I said, stop all life-affirming activities. Whatever it is, stop it right now. And please take her out of pain and put her to sleep. So, and I said, I would like a nurse here 24 hours. I want her to have basically a death doula, to come. So I was going to spend the night with her. And in the middle of all this insanity, right, I said, I'm going to take Joni home and then I'm going to come back. She said, this is what The last thing she said to me, she said, "You snore." I said, "Yes, I do. And so do you." And she said, and I said, and then she just kept saying, "You snore." I said, "So you don't want me here? That's what you're saying?" And she nodded. I said, "Okay, fine." So the next day I came early in the morning, and I just was like getting everything lined up, waiting for the nurse, getting this taken care of, that taken care of. I called all the different places. And then my brother showed up, and the kids showed up, and Jordy got us food. And so I said to the nurse, I said, because I felt it was getting closer, and I said, "Can we step away and eat something?" She said, "Yes, but don't take that long." And we were in the dining room, and we're eating, and I went, "Got to go back now." And they looked at me, and my brother may argue every point. He's a lawyer, and he's not spiritual, but he didn't argue. He followed me right back in that room. My niece was crawling up and was whispering in my mother's ear. I was on the other side of the bed, and the death, it started. The exit started. And I said, Gabby went with her dad. I said, "Okay, it's beginning, Gabby." And she jumped up, and I started to cry. And then I heard the voice, "You have a job to do. No time for this." So I was like, okay. So I came around the bed, and I slipped my hands in between her body and her soul. And as I got my hands in there, she started to purge, like the exorcist, for real. And she's spewing, fluid is just spewing out of her. And I can't lift her soul any. And then she spews, and then she stops. And I say to the nurse, is she suffering? And she said, "No, she's just fighting." I said, "Okay, well, that's her." And then she stopped for a second, and I was able to lift her. And then she started spewing again. And then I lifted her higher. And this went on for 45 minutes. Finally, I get to this point, and the light comes on. Like the light breaks through. Like you said, your experience of heaven, that opened up right there. I said, "Look, Mama, look at the light." And she smiled. And I lifted her up, and they took her off on the other side. In that moment, as she left, I got this download of everything from this lifetime about her and my relationship, and who she was to me and who I was to her. And like that, because they don't take time. Time doesn't exist. So I'm like, holy smokes. And then I dealt with the living people who were crying and sobbing and all this stuff. And then took care of getting the body taken care of and all that. So this woman who couldn't let go had to purge all this crap before she could let go. And I don't know, I didn't talk about this, but for many decades, I've helped people at the end of their life take their last breath and be there and help them sort out the end of their life. That's been a big part of this lifetime for me. Being gay, AIDS, men that were my friends, being in recovery, people dying who were IV drug users. It was all around me. People were dropped dead on the streets in San Francisco. That's how bad it was, that the hospitals were throwing people out of the hospital to die at home. They didn't want them dying in the hospital. And it was a crazy time, but it was a training for me. And this kind of stuff. So as I did this stuff, I would see spirits. I would talk to spirits. I would see them out of their flesh and have conversations with them. And they would give me information. So this has been this lifetime. I'm so glad you really understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't want to profess something. I'm sharing something. There's a difference. And now with working with people, I do healings with crystals and sound bowls. And I that's one of the gifts I was graced with. This weird way to use this form for healing. And that's what I do now.
That's amazing. It is definitely also a blessing being here for others. And that's like something that, shows your kind of love and forgiveness. And it's definitely, it can be tough having parents, I can relate on some of it. So it's tough having somebody that, you just have to, it's hard to forgive, but you gotta do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise we put layers and we disconnect from ourselves
Yeah.
and the divine source.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it truly is also a miracle, witnessing. You witnessed what you've been through, and then when your mother died, it is out of this world.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And did you ever had any dreams from her
Oh,
when
she
she?
comes around a lot. She's here a
Oh,
lot. She loves the bowls. I've
yeah.
had a process. I spent the last year and a half really unhooking my attachments to the fantasy of my mother. Um,
Uh,
and she's been here and she really wants our connection to be a loving, beautiful connection. She wants
uh,
it to be in the realm of the divine, and we're doing that. We're doing that. I feel very aware of
yeah,
healing.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah,
That helps because like I helped somebody that stuck in the in between, that were afraid to go to heaven
yeah,
but was dead already, so because he did so bad to his
yeah.
wife.
Right,
And so I helped to move him, but it was in a, I mean, unexpected, spiritual way I could never imagine. And
right.
yeah, it is whatever they want and they have their wish. And I hope for everyone that nobody that dies have to be afraid of, going and seeing the light. So do
Yeah,
you also, you believe in hell too?
I believe the hell is here. I
Yeah,
believe the hell is
that,
people's behavior that keeps them from feeling love. That's hell.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
that,
think there's a place where, I mean, I do believe that the soul will resonate and go what the human has done in this life if they haven't worked through it. But I
yeah,
also believe that I do believe there's reckoning on the other side when a human passes over and they drop their flesh. I do believe they get to be called on the carpet on the things that they do, and they have to do an assessment, an inventory of sorts of their lifetime and take responsibility for things. And they have to learn. I mean, that's what I witnessed my mother going through. Like, she had no idea the damage she did.
yeah,
And the thing I can say to her is yes, it's made my life harder, and I've had to do extensive work to try and counterbalance what I didn't learn. But that's then, and this is now. And the truth of
yeah,
the matter is I want this. I
yeah,
want to have everything in my basket,
yeah.
including you, including her.
Mm. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's definitely heartbreaking how you had to go through it, and leaving your body in such a brutal way, like this unbelievable. But you experienced the other side, and you were already open, and that is good, that that the love there is amazing, and we all look forward to that one day. And at least, we all believe in something. And
Yes.
yeah, and I absolutely appreciate you coming on here today.
Thank you.
And yeah, I appreciate you giving the message to others that, what you do also helps others, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. We have to take care of each other. The world,
Yeah,
it's a new world. It's
yeah,
a new energetic field. And to be able, you can't control it. You have
mm,
to allow yourself to be in it. We have to allow the expansion that's happening. You don't have a choice, actually. That's not, it's happening. It's not just happening to one person or another person. It's happening to everything.
yeah,
It's, I mean, it started with the lesson of COVID, and nobody got the lesson of COVID. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
That.
some of us did. Some of us did, but I mean, as a species,
Yeah.
so people are still beating their heads into the wall. I thank you for your time and sharing your stuff, your story with me, and your truths and your experience. This is beautiful. It's really always such a joy for me to meet other like-minded souls on the paths, and it makes it less lonely.
Yeah.
And this was really wonderful. I really
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you too. Did you wrote a book or did you
I
um
I haven't written a book.
yeah,
I have written books, but I haven't taken them out and brought
okay.
them to publishers to publish. Not yet. My work is I need to go out and teach
Yeah.
and be there. I'm supposed to be able to do public speaking about the changes, like you said about channeling. I'm a channel and a medium too, and I have a new relationship with a new guide who is was never human, and
Mm,
it's working with me through the crystals and the crystal bowls, and we gave them the name Lionel, but I think it's more L, and they refer to themselves as one of the shimmering ones,
mm,
and it's an energetic field that's merging in my field, and that's what's happening is more of this love and divine light merges in our energetic field, and so we have to clear out the stuff that stands in the way so we have more beautiful things coming in and out of us,
yeah.
and that's what's happening.
And yeah, thank you so much again.
Oh,
I will wish you all the best.
thank you.